Good day, everyone. So I was asked to react to I Want to Lose Gaming's DPS Showdown video, and I decided, well, no, I'm actually gonna I'll look at it, but I think what's more interesting about his video is the section of Raiden and Yai working together, and I thought, well, perhaps that could be a much more topical discussion. Why does Yai, Miko, and Raiden work together? And let's sort of take a deep dive into it. So, if you haven't watched this video by I Want to Lose Gaming, please do so. Give it a like. It's a fantastic video. With regards to the actual sort of showdown, it really is dependent on enemies. Can you precast abilities? There are too many ifs and whats and damage potentials not being exactly equal, and even if they are, there's still like character utilities and all sorts of things that you need to take into account. Nonetheless, it's a pretty good video, and what it sort of highlights is that the Archon or Raiden Shogun is kind of the best electro DPS as we sort of expected her to be. But Yai Miko's damage is nothing to scoff at. So at a hyper investment level, these little totems from Yai, well, each one of them does about, on my account at least, about 30k damage. And if you literally just press an E on Sucrose, well, yeah, now that's 30k is easily like 40k. So in the span of about 9 seconds, Yai Miko's done about 900-ish, 900k damage, which is nothing to scoff at. And that is exactly why the output or that you can see sort of when you watch a video like this is as high as it is. Yai Miko does a tremendous amount of damage, and it's not always obvious to people how this consistent damage sticks over time and how it adds up, especially when you start adding buffs. And that's sort of what I want to talk about. But before all of that, it's not a sponsor, it is my poll here on the community tab. So please do check it out and vote. Which one are you pulling for between Kokomi and Raiden? Your choices are Kokomi, yeah, that's how I think everyone in English pronounces it. Kokomi, as you'd pronounce it in Japanese. Sangonomiya Kokomi, fish, and then of course Sleeping Dragoness, which is my favorite. Please vote for this one. All the channel subs. Let's go. All right, so back to the actual comparison. Why does Yai and Raiden work together? What is so special about this relationship? Well, it is a very complicated relationship, and once you start unpacking it, I think you guys will understand. But the gist of it is the off-field utility, whilst Yai Miko is consistently attacking, synergizes so well with Raiden Shogun whilst she is busy on-field attacking. And what do I mean by this? Well, let's say you've casted all three of your little totems here. They've got a lifetime of about 14 seconds. Now, Raiden Shogun, she casts her E, presses her Q, the animation plays, and she attacks for about 7 seconds. So the 9 seconds or so really overlaps quite well with the 14 seconds here. In fact, the 5 seconds that you've got extra is more than enough to quickly do this and then go into your Raiden Shogun and attack and still get like the buff from Sucrose and Kujosara onto Raiden. It is almost uncanny how well that works together, but it goes a bit deeper. So whilst Yai Miko has these totems up and Raiden is attacking, these totems hitting the enemy will generate electroparticles, and there's nothing that Raiden loves more than energy because she is literally the energy recharge queen. So when you've got all this energy on Raiden, well, yeah, she's just going to have her elemental burst up almost instantaneously, and even with almost 300% energy recharge, as you saw there are situations where Raiden Shogun might not always get it fully up, but with Yai Miko, you are I can almost very confidently say 100% guaranteed to have Raiden's elemental burst up non-stop. So that's the first big point of synergy, but it goes a bit deeper than that. So assuming you've casted all of these now with Yai, so now you go into Raiden Shogun and now you do your attack. So as you were taught on Kaching mains, you're going to do these N2 charge attacks, N3 charge attacks, dash cancel combos. But look at what's happening. Your poor stamina is running out. So now you go back to Yai, you cast your elemental burst, and now you cast your little totems, you move around the field, and look at what's happening. Your stamina bar is recovering, but whilst your stamina bar is recovering, you can still freely move around the field with Yai Miko, and that's pretty awesome. So this character can waste the entire team's stamina, and Yai Miko will just automatically in that downtime help recover it. In fact, she's not a drag on your team's DPS as a result, which means you can do all sorts of things like animation cancel with sucrose here. Obviously, Kuchasara is not going to use any stamina. And if you do your timings and everything correctly, you'll find that the moment your stamina bar is like full again, your Raiden Shogun will have her elemental burst ready and she can attack. So it is quite awesome. In fact, the entire mechanic of resetting your totems is also quite cool in a certain sense, because you can you don't need to waste stamina like putting these things on the field. You can press your Q and now you've got free charges again, so you're saving a lot of stamina that your main DPS or your carry can actually then use whilst you're busy off field. So from a combat perspective, there's that synergy. Now from a Constellation perspective, this gets even more crazy. So let's say Yai's totems are on the field. Yai at hyper investment levels with her C4 gives all your party members an electro damage bonus. So whilst Raiden is on the field, these things will attack, giving Raiden essentially a buff. So Raiden herself immediately synergizes with Yai. So Yai Miko gives Raiden a buff. Now Raiden's elemental burst expires. So what does Raiden do? She immediately gives Yai Miko a buff because, well, she gives everyone a 30% attack bonus, but this is the problem. These two characters can't really use that attack bonus. Well, Kuchasara can to a limited extent, but what character in the game has an off-field sort of like, I don't know, skill that can have a 100% uptime with those 10 seconds? Well, Yai is that character, because this is how Yai Miko works. You do this, you go here to Yai, you swap off to another character, and you look at Yai, and look, she still has the Tengo Feathers, she still has the attack buff. Yai Miko does not snapshot any buffs, which means any buffs, even if she's off field, will affect the damage on these totems. So the Raiden Shogun's C4 will have a 100% uptime, provided you play correctly, of course, with Yai Miko, which means there's that synergy from Raiden back onto Yai, and it now really starts getting a bit more crazy. Raiden Shogun C6 effectively reduces the elemental burst cooldown on Yai Miko, which means Yai Miko can attack more often, which means she'll deal more damage, give Raiden Shogun more resolve, which means Raiden will attack a lot more. Raiden Shogun will give Yai Miko, who's got her elemental burst up more often, more like damage bonus, which means Yai's gonna attack more. It's just crazy. Like the overlap or the two-way synergy between what this character provides and then what this character provides, the fact that the one wants to be off field and the other one wants to be on field, and how that overlaps, it's just phenomenal. And the crazy part is, if you throw in Kuchasara, she works brilliantly with both of them, and you can now just have the character Kazuha, Venti, Sucrose of your choice to just give a bit of a VV shred, and suddenly all of these attack buffs, it doesn't matter who is attacking, they're going to shred the enemy's resistance with the Viridescent Venom set, and all these attack buffs are just going to do more and more damage. So taken together, you guys can now finally understand why Yai and Raiden have such a competitive time in the speed running. Now, it is true that if you've got a hyper-invested Eula, she will definitely out-damage the proportion of damage that Yai Miko can do, but that is only if you crit. If you don't crit, the consistency of output that Yai sort of provides is just gonna outmatch what Eula can at C6. And I know this because I've got a C6 Eula, and I have tested the synergy out as well. But of course, I mean, my account's not the only account, and there are people with better Eula, so that's why I've sort of put that little statement as it is. But the fact of the matter is, like, for most conceivable situations, where of course you can do decent electro damage, the Raiden Yai Miko synergy is very perfect from a combat perspective, from how the constellations synergize, from the fact that the buffs stack on one another simultaneously, and then it can get buffed by other team members. It's just, I mean, I've not seen any two characters in the game like Yai Miko and Raiden that have such a good synergy. Most synergies in the game are like, well, I put my Kokomi Jellyfish down, and then the main DPS has the Blizzard Strayer, so we put up all the buffs onto the one character, and then the one character, the hyper carry, the main DPS does it all, and finally we've got a pair that's just that deals roughly 45% of the damage, and they just work. Everything about them just works so well together. It is just absolutely insane from a combat, from a Constellation perspective. So yeah, guys, that is why for hyper investing, Yai and Raiden work together. I don't know what more to say. It is truly amazing. I did not, yeah, expect it to work as well as it did, which also means, and this is the little angry part of the video, this is why I don't listen to the community when they trash talk Yai. I think understanding exactly the utility and why these abilities are they are, and not what you want them to be, really shows that there's been a lot of thought put in by the developers as to how Yai Miko's kit should work. It's definitely not something that's rushed or sort of half-baked, as people would put it. But yeah, guys, if you've been watching until now, thank you so much for watching, and have a great day. Cheers.